everybody, welcome to day 8 of Vlogmas. Today is actually not super scripted. It's pretty much just gonna be a conversation between me and you if you're interested. I'm gonna be talking about my opinions on certain pieces of writing advice. As you know by now, I am a creative writer. The first piece of advice that I have been given over and over and over again is the write what you know piece of advice. Writing what you know is easy, and I don't mean to say that in the way that like it's so easy that you shouldn't do it. I don't think that writing what you know is a cop-out or doesn't make you a real writer. I think if you write and you write well and you like writing and you want to improve as a writer, then you are a real writer. Writing what you know is definitely a good starting point for me, but I think one of the really fun challenges of writing is writing outside of the things that you know and trying to understand those experiences, of course within context. I don't have that much experience with the world of love, but I write romance novels, romance young adult novels, because that's what I like to write about, and I like to explore the different kinds of relationships that fall into that category. I think writing what you know can put you in a spot of possibly not creating anything new, and I'm not saying that like you have to write the next great American novel or whatever, and a lot of people will tell you that all stories are kind of just reinterpretations of the same story or whatever, the same 10 stories, the same 30 stories. I don't necessarily go by that. I don't like to feel so limited, but I think there is some truth to that. Really, my opinion on this is just to not limit yourself to the things that you know. I mean, if every author had ever stuck to literally the things that they knew, we wouldn't have things like Frankenstein, Dracula, the entire sci-fi genre, the entire fantasy genre. The next piece of advice that I do and don't take issue with is write the book that you want to read. There's nothing wrong with writing the kind of book that you are personally invested in, want to read as an audience member. That's kind of how you should approach writing. I guarantee you that you are not alone in your readership views. The danger, I think, with this piece of advice is that typically inexperienced writers will take the advice and use it as an excuse to not read other books. You need to be reading to be a better writer. I don't want to say that I was self-taught in writing, because I kind of was, but kind of wasn't. But I also learned by reading. And in the same way that I think you should write books that you want to read because other people will want to read them too, you should not feel like you are the only author that wants to write this one specific type of book. If you're not reading other people's books, you're not learning to be a writer. Even if you're paying $50,000 a year for a creative writing degree, I read, books on how to write, and I read books of just short stories and classic literature, and that in college is how I learned to become a better writer. Reading makes you an empath, basically. Reading will open your world to empathy, sympathy, relatability, kindness. Reading makes you a good person. Finally, and this topic might be a little bit controversial. I don't really want it to be, but it probably will be. I've heard a lot of people say, write marginalized groups, but don't make their stories about being marginalized. This topic is so complicated, and I just don't know what the right thing to say about it is. Some people feel one certain way, some people feel another certain way, and I don't have any specific answer to any kind of question pertaining to this topic. I still struggle with this idea of what is it okay for me to write and what is it okay for me to not write. The only way for me to get answers that I need is to ask and to hear what the people that I'm representing are saying about this. Reach out to people that you think could have answers for you. Not everybody's going to, and not everybody that you think would have the answers will. The least you can do is do the work, figure out if you're actually representing these people as people and in a respectable manner, and just repeat the process over and over again. It's gonna be grueling work, but you know what? Writing is tough, and if you're not willing to put the work in, you're not gonna get published. I'm sorry. And you're not gonna be on bookshelves. Again, I'm sorry. That just means that you have to be that much more diligent, hardworking, and attentive to your project, and definitely mindful of how your writing, your actions are going to affect the people that you are trying to represent. So those are my opinions on the 3 topics that I had thought to bring up. If there are any other pieces of writing advice that you're, I don't know, a little confused about or want to talk about, go ahead and leave them in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not already subscribed to The Princess and the Scrivener, please do so down below, especially if you'd like to see more videos on Disney, intersectional feminism, pop culture critiques, Vlogmas, and more. The Scrivener will see you tomorrow.